Lochani, the ANC's NEC Lekgotla has been concluded over the past 2 days. The NEC discussed a variety of things such as the position of the ANC in the government of national unity. They also talked about the comments that were made by Gogozilla, the breakaway parties from the ANC, also focusing on the factions and the fights from within the ANC. The acting spokesperson of the ANC, Comrade Zuko, and David Makhura had a media briefing where they've been telling the media which direction the ANC wants to take going forward. One of the initiatives that the ANC wants to implement going forward is this national dialogue. Is it going to change the lives of the people of South Africa? Do we still need to have a dialogue in South Africa? Don't we know what our problems are? Let's talk about that and much more.
Welcome to King Said So, Africa's one land, one language, one currency, one army on King Said So. Africans can unite. Your Pan-Africanist podcast. Enjoy.
Peace in Pan-Africanism to all my African brothers and sisters from all around the world. Welcome back to King Said So. I'm your host, Kaiso Hlongwane Zinjeva Sono. And we're back at it again with another one. And this time around, I just quickly want to cover this NEC Lekgotla of the ANC that they had over the past 2 days. And I know. Hi, guys. You see, when we don't understand the bigger picture, we would think that this talks, the NEC talks, these small conferences that we have actually an impact on what is going to happen to the future of our country. But now we are slowly waking up to the fact that the ANC, there has comrades in the ANC that still are ignorant, or maybe they don't know that the ANC is not in control of the ANC. If you understand what I'm saying, there are outside factors or parties, individual families and companies that actually control or actually bought the ANC, and what they say goes. We call them with different names, investors, the markets, whatever. These people control the direction of which the ANC goes. But there are some comrades within the ANC that are still ignorant or oblivious to this fact. I see again now. So the acting spokesperson, Comrade Zuko, who is doing a fantastic job, by the way. I like his tone, but I'm afraid he does not know what he's talking about. But he's good in talking. There's a level of authority when he speaks that I like about him. Spoke about the national dialogue. National dialogue, Buffett. You guys still want to have a national dialogue?
Is that the idea?
You get it very right, Shannon. You are the one who gets it, what we're trying to do. The Freedom Charter model and the Congress for a Democratic Future that was held in 1989. That's the sort of model that we have. So that there's no single political force in South Africa that arbitrarily says this is what the future ought to look like, or these are the concerns of South Africa. We want to have a national conversation, a national dialogue whose outcomes will be as broadly representative of the spirit and understanding of the South African people. That's why I was saying it includes making sure that you maximize the representation of the voice of the rural poor, of the farm dwellers, of all the other social forces in South Africa that might be neglected from everyday discourse. So it's essentially about sort of reproducing the model of what the Freedom Charter did. And Shannon is correct. South Africans underestimate that the first blueprint of a social compact that South Africa has is actually the Freedom Charter, and that is what we are reanimating again. No, we're not social compacting. Social compacting is a conversation of a broad array of stakeholders. We've been discussing the need to have such a social compact, but we've never actually gotten into the work of having that social compact playing itself out. The national dialogue is a proposal about social compacting, essentially. There's an agreement now that there should be that national dialogue. The president has said it ought to happen this year. So the issue now is about the modalities of who gets into that platform of the national dialogue, so that the outcome is truly reflective of a substantive social compact. So what you are saying, we've been saying, is that we've been saying there will be such a social compact team. But now we've already agreed that there ought to be a date for that social compact. And of course, the president will deal with that issue in time about when can we have it. But the issue now is who gets into the dialogue. Yes.
Okay, in terms of...
Yeah, you know, when the ANC went to CODESA for a meeting, that was like a dialogue between powerful Afrikaner families, powerful rich families, and the ANC, the poor ANC. And the outcomes of the CODESA did not favor us as African people. Even today, if we go into a dialogue, the question will be, who comes into this dialogue and shares their idea and opinions? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Are we as Africans ever going to sit down and say, listen, this is what we want for Azania. This is what we need as African people, the original indigenous people. Let's stop thinking about everyone else. The thing that makes us not improve or get any improvements in life as African people is because when it is time for us as Africans to solve African problems, we call the whole world to come and give their opinion. African people will never go anywhere. You need a strategic and aggressive approach to solving the problems of Africans, just like our Captain Ibrahim Traore did. You need to come and just take power. If you understand what I'm saying. This thing of coming, saying, guys, let's have South Africa come, let's sit down, bring the stakeholders, because you know South Africa is a company registered somewhere as a company. Bring the investors, bring the opposition party, bring the Orania, bring AfriForum, bring everyone, come, let's sit down, let's have a talk. Actually, what is going to come out of that talk that is going to benefit us as African people? And maybe I'm speaking too much from a Pan-Africanist point of view, but I hope you guys understand me. If your majority of your people who are poor are African, the majority of your people who are unemployed are African, the majority of your people who don't have land are African, the majority of people who don't own any strategic sectors are African. The majority, you understand where I'm trying to go? If you're going to have a problem that is going to solve these people's problems, don't you think you should talk rather to these people? Because if you bring people who've got land, people who've got shares, people who've got, their opinion is going to try to protect their gains instead of giving it to these people. But now we're having a situation of saying, let's have a national dialogue. So I am not in favor of a national dialogue because I don't see what positive outcomes it's going to bring for African people. And again, I warned you guys on this channel that there is what we call the great distractions that continue to come in the face of African people to elude us from focusing on the main agenda. We are no longer talking about land. The dialogue is going to be about fixing South Africa for all. It's not going to focus on what actually African people who are living in a historical disadvantage in the present moment are going to need going forward. You understand what I'm trying to say? They are distracting us with these things. The national dialogue can take 3 months. 3 months. They can even bring a new commission and people will be talking. Farmers will be talking. Stakeholders will be talking, investors will be talking, poor people will be talking, politicians will be talking. And all of these things at the end, it will be like, wow, guys, it's so difficult. South Africa, we need to unite and we need to. The next thing, 6 months have passed. But I've told you in the background, revolutionary movements like the Afrikaner forums, like AfriForum and the Solidarity Movement and all of those guys are planning about the 2029 elections. They are taking they are taking the IEC, they are taking the Reserve Bank, they're taking all of these stakeholders that have got power, they are putting them in the back of their pocket. When are you busy with a dialogue? We want dialogue. I want to play something that David Makhura said. And I know you guys, I know I really don't know anymore. I don't know what David Makhura was saying. I want you guys to listen to this clip with me and tell me what is David saying actually, so that maybe some of you on the comment section can explain. I'm done with the dialogue. I don't want to have dialogues, Mina. Dialogue yan. Listen to what Makhura said.
So we when we did the analysis of the balance of forces, so we say, how did this battle unfold? Who was on which side? So we analyzed, and what did the results tell us? We said, first in South Africa, we have what we call, we have the forces that have always been opposed to fundamental change. Before 1994 and after 1994, the forces that are opposed to the fundamental transformation of every aspect of society, what we call in that vision, in the National Democratic. So we characterize those. Essentially right-wing forces, some of them in different ways, liberal and illiberal, very conservative elements in there, but we characterize them as the principal opponents of our vision for a fundamental transformation of South Africa. Opponents, not enemies. We are in a democracy. So they are our principal opponents. And then we say there are others who were also in the battle. So there is the ANC-led progressive, what we call so it's the ANC-led alliance and the democratic movement, whose vision and program is what we have articulated. So they stand. So on the one hand, you have this first category, and then you have this second category. But we then said, over time in the last 30 years, there's also been a development in our country where there are opposition parties. There are parties that have emerged in municipal elections, in national elections that have been opposed to the ANC in varying degrees, opposed to this vision, distinct from those we have described as the principal opposition to our National Democratic Republic. We have characterized them, and we say one of the very
David is not saying anything. Mr. Makhura is not saying anything. They have, what is he saying? They've got forces that are opposed to the fundamental changes. Who are you talking about? The DA? If you've got forces that are opposing fundamental changes and you are in government of national confusion with those forces, and you say they are political opponents and not enemies, so you are telling me in that NEC meeting, you are talking like this, forces and in the local government, their opponents that, Buffett. Is this what you are still discussing in the NEC? You are discussing this. I want to hear what Mr. Makhura said about the breakaway parties and, what is their position as the ANC as to the breakaway parties?
To defend what is principled, transformative, and emancipatory politics. So as we renew the ANC, we are going to avoid a tendency where the ANC is transformed into tendencies that each of these parties represent. And in great detail, we will, in our perspective, we explain what does each of the breakaway parties represent as a tendency. And what's happening in society? There are crises and tendencies that have a huge impact on the progressive transformation of our country. Some of them are global, or they have global manifestations, but they are now hitting our democracy. Then our democracy itself has specific element of a crisis that Comrade Phoebe will talk about, but there are multiple crises. So we are not going to respond to the breakaway groups from the ANC in an unprincipled way, simply because it's election time, simply because we are not having the numbers. We are going to respond. We say we are going to respond in a principled way. And even as we enter into various coalitions, we will still pursue that consistent, principled, transformative politics, that the ANC wants to remain the center of transformative politics in our country, emancipative, a kind of politics that's about changing the lives of people, not politics that's because it's time.
ANC, all it needs to do is to fix its relationship with these breakaway parties. That's all. And it's possible. It's not an impossible task to do. What is an impossible task to do is to work in a healthy way with the Freedom Front Plus, the PA, and the DA. It's impossible to have any tangible success in working with those parties. When we talk about counter-revolutionary, we're talking about working with such forces. They are ignoring that. Their internal hate of saying, no, people can't tell us to remove the president. You yourself need to tell yourself that the president must be removed. The president dropped 17% of the party, and you still don't see a problem of removing him. You protecting him. I mean, it cannot be that a person becomes bigger than the organization. At one point, Zuma was bigger than the organization, but the ANC removed Jacob Zuma before finishing his term. Why is it I can't do the same with Cyril? Now you want to blame the breakaway parties faction. Fix your problems. You can fix them. I don't know. Now, the acting spokesperson, Comrade Zuko, is saying no, the ANC is an idea. And I'm like, wow, the ANC is an idea. What actually is that idea? Listen to this.
The day the ANC amends its constitution in order to save its electoral fortunes, it is no longer the ANC. The ANC is not this thing. It's not this thing written here, these colors. It's not these three people here or whatever number of members we say the ANC is. The ANC is an idea. And anything that departs from the idea of the ANC is not the ANC. And it is not ideologically similar to the ANC. There's no political party that says, as a police, we must round up young, teenage, pregnant girls and put them in Robben Island that can be accused of being like the ANC. It's not. Because that organization assumes that teenage pregnancy is a function of some deficiency on the part of young women. Not like the ANC. That organization represents counter-revolution as far as the ANC is concerned. The ANC's idea on constitutionalism was written down in 1923. It went in 1943 to the African Claims Charter. In 1955, it went to the Freedom Charter. In 1986, it went to the Constitutional Principles. In 1989, it went to the Congress for a Democratic Future. In 1993, it went to the Transitional Constitution. It got cemented in the 96 Constitution. Constitutionalism is a foundational philosophy of the ANC because it believes on the egalitarian principle that no government can justly govern people not based on the will of the people. Now, an organization that says we must overthrow constitutionalism and replace it with an arrangement where the sovereign authority of the state must be concentrated in unelected kings is not like the ANC.
Or even in parliament.
Or that, because the ANC's preoccupation is not winning at all cost elections.
Yeah, it's nice for our comrade Zuko to come here and give us political history education, to tell us, no, the constitution was written in 1923, and then it moved to 1943 to 1955 to 1989. Then it was 93, and then formally adopted in 1996. All of those beautiful things that he's saying, that the ANC's its foundation is on constitutionalism. Excuse me, my brother. Anything that does not change with time will not adapt and will die slowly. It cannot be that, Tina, we must tell our children about a constitution that was written in 1923, a constitution that was written in 1996. The constitution is the God that does not change. Huh? You must wake up to the fact to say, okay, fine, here's this foundation of the ANC that we say is the constitution. What has this constitution done for our people? Has not given our people land, has not given our people back their resources. Our people are still the poorest, our people. So we don't care, Tina, as Pan-Africanists, about your foundation being a constitution that does not work. That's why we are calling for a change, amendment of this constitution in some sectors, in some chapters. Not everything of the constitution is wrong, but we are saying there's just fundamental problems that we have with this constitution, and the history that we have as South African has taught us that this constitution is not working for the poor. That's it. So you can come with the big words and start bombasting people and speaking with authority, thinking that when you speak like that, people will understand you more. My brother, the constitution is not working for African people, Comrade Zuko. It's not. If you are benefiting, good for you, because it works for the whites and the black elites. And most of those black elites are connected to high parliamentarians and high politicians, I mean. So us who don't have any connection to political parties, we will never see our families break the chain of poverty. We will work so hard only to die with sicknesses, only to die. And these things are man-made. These are pandemics and everything. We'll die with those things. Or maybe we'll be lucky to retire at 65 only to see 1 point something million, and then it starts at 30-45%. I'm agreeing with him. He says the strategy of the ANC of getting 40% but controlling 70% of the cabinet. I think there's something that he was saying. Listen to this.
Theme does not mean that they are pursuing a progressive blackness that the ANC talks about. The ANC is in the GNU not because it thinks those parties in the GNU have anything to do with it. It's a matter of political strategy. The ANC got 40% in the electorate, in the vote. It controls 70% of the executive. Tell me that is not a strategic coup. But if the ANC had gone into a coalition with one political party, it would have been forced into an arrangement where there is a 50-50 control of the executive. So whose policies were going to dominate in that arrangement? So the ANC cannot surrender itself to any political party in the name of some populist gesturing that, no, these ones are more progressive than the others. The whole lot of them are reactionary. But the degrees of their reactionary politics, they vary. Because none of them is committed to the Republican cause that the ANC is about.
Okay, so yes, like I said, I tend to agree with Comrade Zuko that the ANC getting 40% but still controlling about 70% of the cabinet is it's an advantage to an ANC. Their strategy was a superior strategy. They outplayed everyone. But they must not say it as if they had other options. That's what we are saying. The ANC did not have an option to work with the MK or the EFF. They made it seem as if that option was available. But this government of national unity was decided long time ago. In fact, I am saying to you guys, this is a test of the system of coalition governments, because this is the first time it's happening actually in South Africa. It's a test of the system. So the masters have seen now how this coalition government is working and how sweet it tastes. Because this coalition government is not going to impact or affect or threaten investors. It's going to continue to make the poor people poor. Look at the price of electricity right now. Look at the cost of living right now. Look at look at our inflation. Look at everything that is happening. It affects and impacts only poor people. So going forward, the markets or the investors are going to want this government of confusion to continue. So they're going to keep the ANC somewhere in the 30%, maybe lower, and go and make the DA stronger, so that the ANC and the DA don't need many parties going into a coalition the next time. This time around, it might look like the PAC has got a member in parliament, a minister, the Rise Mzansi, PA, whatever. But next time, I'm warning you guys, if we don't wake up, these people are going to take everything from us, and we're going to have a straight coalition of the ANC and the DA. Straight. So they must not act as if there was another option. This option was forcefully fed to the ANC. Now he also makes a dangerous, arrogant claim, and he says himself, I want to make an arrogant claim on behalf of the ANC.
I thought I must answer these questions in this manner. The ANC is not avoiding any political party for bitterness and so on, no. Or afraid of any. I've heard this thing that some political parties are going to overwhelm us, what. I will make the arrogant claim on behalf of the ANC that there is none of political parties in South Africa that can match the ANC intellectually, ideologically, politically, and organizationally. It doesn't matter how much they delude themselves. The difference is that some of them are being given a disproportionate amount of airtime on the South African megaphone. And then the illusion is reproduced that they are thinking and speaking alone. It's not true. Take any major question of policy in South Africa. Take the best of their spokespersons. Tell them to choose if they want to debate that with the ANC and see who's going to come second best. So we don't fear anybody. When there's a particular political party that runs around saying they're in charge of government, don't believe them. If you believe them, it's your own choice. But in reality, the ANC is in control of government in a manner that is far above what it got in the elections. So the ANC cannot be dictated to how it must approach its strategy by opposition parties. We don't have to prove ourselves by coddling any political party. We must go hack a particular political party so that we prove that we're revolutionary. On the basis of what? Can't do it. We will not hug them, we will not beg them, we will not even beg the DA. That GNU, we structured it the way it does so that if they want to walk, they can walk. But if they are committed to the idea of a common stabilization program of South Africa's political system, they will not go. Now, don't listen to one person who goes to podcasts and media interviews and says things that don't exist. Undermines all other political parties. Says, no, this thing is just two parties. If it were two parties, they would have like 20 ministers. They have 6.
And they will dictate many others.
Then they will dictate all manner of things. I'm saying we've got to understand these things in proper context, not because one person spoke. I can't wake up tomorrow and say, no, my name is Zuko Godlimpi, I'm a light-skinned person. And then it's the truth. I'm not going to be light-skinned because I claim to be. Or that I identify as light-skinned. You know, I'm telling the truth. It doesn't work. So let's be quite serious. Let's be serious. Don't take people at their word when they are making ludicrous claims. There's no party that can just say it's a partnership between the two. The DA has 6, the IFP has how many? 3 or 2 ministers. So at what point do we say they don't exist in the GNU? PAC has a minister, something that they've never had. In what world do you render it non-existent because Mrs. Zille claims that they don't matter? The GNU as it stands was the most strategic maneuver by the ANC in order to turn an electoral setback into a strategic advantage. Any other bipartisan arrangement would have lent the ANC in a difficult position where it would have to share the executive equally with one political party. And then would be subjected to all manner of strange policy proposals here. including that remove your own president. If we were to say they must remove their president, would they agree? So why must we be allowed to do that? We didn't agree when President Zuma was our president. Not because of some blind love for the person, but as a principle thing that you can't self-liquidate in order to appease a political opponent. By the way, these genuine partners are our political opponents. Yeah. They remain so. It doesn't mean we are engaged in an existential battle with all of them. Our intention is to overrun them, just like their intention is to liquidate us. So it's mutually assured destruction that is not triggered because we all need to hold hands in order for progress. But if you turn your head and look the other way, they will pull the trigger.
Hi, yeah, I'm happy that even himself, he can hear what he does an arrogant claim. No political party can match the ANC intellectually. It cannot ideologically. Politically, no political party can match the ANC. We must choose any topic and the ANC, we're not even going to entertain that rubbish. If you believe that, that is your downfall, my brother. If you believe that the ANC is superior in logic to all the other political parties, I feel sorry for you. I honestly feel sorry for you. And if that's what you guys are saying there in the behind the corridors, behind the closed doors in the NEC Lekgotla, that's what you are saying. We say we are superior in logic. We run this thing of the government of national unity. Don't listen to Helen Ziller. Ignore everyone and just focus on us. We are doing great. We are the best party in the world. If that's your attitude, yes, you can say we must ignore Helen Ziller and everything that you're saying. But Tina, we can't ignore her because we have seen the impacts of these markets and this media that are listening to them. The ANC does not have power over the media. They don't. The media's control the ANC. The media has got power to control the narrative that the people think about the ANC. The ANC has absolutely no power. If they don't see that, it's up to them. And it's sad for them to say things that, listen, our intention is to overrun our partners in the government of national unity. How should people accept that this government of national unity is actually a government of enemies who want to overrun each other? No, Zakala serious. So I want to hear from you guys. Are you happy with the feedback, the briefing from the NEC Lekgotla? What is your thoughts on the comment section? Do you think the ANC is continuing with this arrogance of ignoring what is happening? For me, I'm saying there is no ANC. It's just the name tag. For me, it's just a name tag. There's no more ANC. It's us who think that there's an ANC, but there are powers that hold the ANC. And I think those powers have been controlling the ANC for a long time. It's just now that it's becoming so undeniable that the ANC is no longer in control of itself since Cyril Ramaphosa took over, according to me. But you guys will tell me on the comment section if I'm wrong or right. And thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Don't forget to support our sister channel that is 100 subscribers shy to 1,000. Please support African Mojolo with your boy King, and there you'll be getting some crazy content where we speak about relationships, everything that has to do with love in terms of the family structure of an African family. Until we meet next time, don't forget to pray. After you pray, stand up, African child. Do your best so that God can do the rest. Peace in Pan-Africanism. I salute you.